CTV News with Carlyle Fiset.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight at City Hall, where councillors are backing a plan aimed at revitalizing and diversifying downtown London over the next decade. With the latest on that project, here's Daryl Newcomb.
Let's talk about what the challenges are and what the opportunities are.
The Canadian Urban Institute officially presenting their plan to revitalize downtown London, called Downtown Reimagined. The 10-year downtown master plan recommends 58 actions that would cost about $48 million.
All the things that we list here are all the things that exist uniquely in a downtown.
The London Development Institute, that represents many of the city's largest developers, urged the report's implementation.
Take leadership on making things happen, spend money on downtown, and make it the great heartbeat of this London.
However, the Old East Village BIA called for an approach that would include other core area business districts beyond just downtown London.
How do we strengthen our urban core? And how do we build a city that is greater than one neighborhood?
I'm more than happy anytime people want to have that conversation. But I'm here today, we're all here today to talk about the downtown plan.
We will not grow the downtown or develop it into its potential unless we come to terms with public defecation, public urination, the homelessness, the illegal drug use, the violence.
Ultimately, the committee recommended endorsing the new downtown plan, but emphasized it will evolve and successes in the downtown can be applied in neighboring business districts.
I know we had a lot of engagement moving forward, but this is not the final decision. This is just an endorsement for the framework and the themes that we are supporting.
Council will make a final decision June 23rd. Daryl Newcomb, CTV News.
Former Woodstock Mayor Trevor Birch made a virtual court appearance today to learn his latest sentence. He's already serving time for an unrelated sexual assault conviction. Rita Ismail has more on today's decision and what it means for the rest of his time behind bars.
Appearing by video from inside a prison, former Woodstock Mayor Trevor Birch sat quietly as a judge sentenced him in another case involving a former intimate partner. The 51-year-old is already serving a 4-year, 8-month prison sentence after being convicted in a separate sexual assault trial. During today's hearing, the defense and Crown presented a joint submission asking for an 8-month sentence to be served concurrently with Birch's existing prison term, followed by 18 months of probation. Justice Mark Garson accepted the joint recommendation, citing several mitigating factors, including Birch's guilty plea, which spared the victim from having to testify and avoided further court proceedings. While delivering his decision, Justice Garson stressed the broader impact of intimate partner violence, saying offenses of this nature are not only harmful to the victim, but harmful to society. They shatter a woman's sense of privacy, safety, dignity, and autonomy. Our courts must continue to send a message of denunciation and deterrence of this conduct, a strong message to like-minded persons. Advocates who attended the hearing say those comments send an important message.
He is serving time in jail. We don't see that very often. And I think it speaks to his position of power that he held and kind of the downfall from that. In both cases, actually, both judges separately spoke about his fall from grace. As part of the sentence, Birch is prohibited from contacting the victim and remains subject to a 10-year weapons ban. Between the two sexual assault cases, Birch was also convicted of impaired driving in February of last year. Birch declined an opportunity to address the court before sentencing. Rita Ismail, CTV News.
Officials with Oxford County Pride are demanding provincial and federal leaders condemn the recent rash of vandalism and theft targeting Pride flags. They say they're disappointed in two local politicians who have been silent on the issue, calling on them to take a stand. With more, here's Brian Bicknell.
The president of Oxford County Pride says when pride flags were vandalized and stolen in parts of Oxford, it was painful. But she says when elected representatives failed to speak out against what she calls hate-motivated crimes, it struck yet another blow.
Elected officials are there to serve the community as a whole and not just pick and choose the parts of the community that they want to serve.
Tara Russell Curtis has written to Oxford MPP Ernie Hardeman and Oxford MP Arpan Khanna. She expresses her profound disappointment in their silence following the burning of a pride flag in Norwich and the cutting down of the flagpole at a public school in Norwich. She says they have a responsibility to condemn acts of hatred.
And when they're staying silent on the matter, they're also sending a message to the youth of the community that, you know, the ones who are committing these acts are more worthy of their voice.
Communities across southwestern Ontario have been hit by a rash of violence toward Pride symbols during Pride Month. In addition to Oxford, 4 schools in Perth County had flagpole damage, while a school in Glencoe in Middlesex County had its pride flag stolen along with a Canada flag and the pole they were attached to. Several homes and businesses throughout the region have also been targeted.
You know, it's supposed to tell people that they have a place in the community, that they have safe space at school. There's no hatred in the message of the flag, but yet it's met with so much hatred.
CTV News reached out to both Hardeman and Khanna to discuss the concerns raised. Hardeman did not respond. Khanna sent a statement which did not specifically address the concerns of Oxford Pride, but said in part, "Let me be clear. Any acts of vandalism, attempts of intimidation, and property damage are unacceptable." Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
To the murder trial in St. Thomas, where more evidence was presented today surrounding the turbulent relationship between a 22-year-old woman and the 53-year-old man accused of killing her. With more on today's proceedings, here's Nick Paparella.
In the first week and a half of the murder trial, the court has heard about the roller coaster relationship between 22-year-old Caitlin Jennings and 53-year-old David Yates. As the defense continues with its case, London Police Constable Jared Brown testified about an occurrence at 562 Kingsway Avenue in West London in March of 2023. The officer showed up after a 911 call. He saw the accused wearing nothing but a bathrobe and described injuries that he saw on Yates. There were large contusions on his face and arms, like bite marks. He continued and said he had dried blood on his nose and a small laceration on his back. Even though the Crown argued it's not known how he got the injuries, Constable Brown ended up charging Caitlin with 1 count of assault and 1 count of assault with a weapon. A few months later, London police would return to the same address on July 5th of that year and discover Caitlin's lifeless and beaten body on the living room floor. Yates would be charged with murder. At the beginning of the proceedings, Yates offered to plead guilty to the lesser charge of manslaughter. However, that was rejected by the Crown, and the second-degree murder trial got underway. Later in the day, in another twist, Toronto Police Detective Constable Jennifer Fox testified about a sexual assault case she was investigating months before the killing involving the couple. She said he came to Toronto on the premise that Caitlin had been sexually assaulted. Later, in a text message to the officer, the court saw that Yates wrote about their relationship, and it read, "I have no one else to talk to as I have been a victim of her lies, violence, and psychological warfare." More may come to light on Wednesday because the court has heard that Yates himself is expected to testify in his own defense. In St. Thomas, Nick Paparella, CTV News.
Union leaders representing London Catholic School Board education workers say they're concerned over proposed staffing cuts. In a statement, union leaders say school board officials want to eliminate 4 designated early childhood educator positions, 11 chaplain roles, and up to 3 cafeteria positions, as well as several library technician positions. In response, board officials said there are several inaccuracies in the union's claims. An early morning crash involving two transport trucks closed down the 402 for several hours. Emergency responders say they were called to the Nauvoo Road area around 6:30 this morning. The westbound lanes were closed from Kerwood to Nauvoo so the tractor trailers could be removed. Police say one of the drivers was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. A new survey on Canadian spending habits is shedding light on the cost of living difference for people living on their own and couples sharing the load. With more on the impact on bank accounts and relationships, here's John Venavalley-Rao.
Rice. We bought rice because it's on sale.
When it comes to affording food items, in particular for those living on their own, it can be summed up this way.
It's tough.
While everyone is feeling the pinch in the grocery aisles, the new survey from Interac found 6 in 10 solo households felt they face disproportionately higher per person costs compared to Canadians who split expenses.
As a single person living on my own, I definitely notice.
The survey found the average single-person household spends about $102 a week on groceries, compared to $80 per person in a shared household. Many of those living alone say it is harder to find ingredients portioned for one, and many say they miss out on the savings that come from buying in bulk, in part worried about food going bad before they can use it all.
If you're a single person, you have to worry about space. You're often living in a smaller space. You might have a smaller fridge, no access to a significant freezer.
Single-person households now make up about 3 in 10 homes. Greg Johnson lives alone and says for $100, he used to be able to fill a grocery cart.
$100. This is $100 in here. You try to buy some yogurt, some let's see, the no-name products. You try to save up on that. Even the laundry detergent, you're trying to save on that. And nowadays, I see people making their own laundry detergent, trying to save some money.
The survey found overall, Canadians are changing buying habits because of rising prices. Nearly half say they've reduced or stopped buying premium meat cuts. And nearly 4 in 10 said they've switched to store or no-name brands in the last 6 months.
Meanwhile, some note solo shoppers do have one genuine advantage. They can more easily pivot to buying what's on sale with only one person in the household making the decision. John Venavalley-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
A local family are working on a substantial expansion for their lumber business as the company passes on to a third generation. With more on their plans for the future, here's Scott Miller.
Bernie McGlynn Lumber near Mildmay has been turning logs into 2x4s since 1964. After being started by his parents, Bernie McGlynn and his wife Doreen are now preparing to pass the business on to their 3 children.
The excitement's pretty big between my sister and brother and I, as we've been a part of it our whole lives.
To keep the sawmill and flooring company moving forward, the McGlynns are embarking on a nearly $5.5 million expansion to double their production space, increase output by nearly 50%, and dramatically modernize equipment.
We're putting up a new 30,000-foot building on the other side of the road here, and so then down the road, hopefully by Christmas, after we get the mill installed and stuff, then we would be putting in the thermal kiln after that, and hopefully be up and running sometime early next year.
The thermal kiln will be the first of its kind machine in Ontario, allowing McGlynn's to make outdoor decking completely from Ontario-grown trees to compete with largely overseas-made composite decking. To help get the McGlynn's project started, the province's terra-fighting forestry sector investment and an innovation program is kicking in $1.6 million.
There's a lot of uncertainty. Markets and investors don't like the uncertainty, so part of our roadmap is making sure that we're instilling that confidence back into the forestry sector here in Ontario to attract those investments and grow the industry, protect the jobs that rural Northern Ontario communities depend on.
McGlynn's expansion will add about 5 jobs, but will retain another 13, modernizing and stabilizing a South Bruce employer when the community needs it.
A year or two ago, we were involved in the DGR process, and when that kind of fell through, we said we were going to look at other alternatives to replace that, and here we are.
The McGlynn's current and future owners are excited about what the future holds.
We need to get more out of the products and have something that somebody else hasn't got at the present time in a big volume and grow it from there.
It's going to put us ahead of a lot of other competition and give us new markets and continue to grow.
Near Mildmay, Scott Miller, CTV News.
Federal regulators have announced a ban on unauthorized drones flying over World Cup venues and training sites, an effort to better control who has overhead access. As Heather Wright reports, there's already been an arrest related to drones flying over Toronto Stadium.
Drones lit up the night sky over Seattle on Monday, forming a scoreboard with the 1-1 draw between Belgium and Egypt. While this was a sanctioned spectacle, authorities in both the United States and Canada are cracking down on unauthorized drone use near FIFA sites. Toronto police say they have seized 6 drones since last Wednesday and are reminding the public about no-fly zones in place around World Cup-related events. In the United States, the FBI says they seized drones near SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles on Friday.
If there's an event nearby with like FIFA in town, that changes things. It's like it ups the stakes a lot.
Henry Shepard is an advanced drone pilot and owner of Films First. He says it's not surprising authorities are cracking down on drone use near a big event like the World Cup.
Let's say if it's windy, for example, and you've got a smaller drone and you're downtown. You may lose control of that easily enough, or you may fly behind a building and lose the signal for a second. So the wrong person without the experience flying it in these situations, a lot can go wrong, obviously.
While safety is one consideration, security is another, especially in the unlikely event of terrorism.
This isn't something that, has a very high probability of taking place, but that's the worst case scenario that the authorities are probably using as their baseline when it comes to security measures for drones.
Federal restrictions are also in place prohibiting any drones near training sites in addition to stadiums. Federal regulators say this is to manage crowded airspace and protect event security, but could also be a way to prevent spying. Teams have used drones to spy on their opponents in the past, including Canada's women's soccer team, which flew drones over to New Zealand practices ahead of their opening match at the 2024 Olympics in Paris.
Drone restrictions are in place even on days when matches are not being played, with Toronto police saying they have detection technology in place to track down any unauthorized drones. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
And a programming note, because of live World Cup coverage tomorrow on CTV London, our 6 p.m. newscast will be preempted. However, it will be available to watch on our website, ctvnewslondon.ca, as well as the CTV News app. Still ahead, is this the end of Hockey Night in Canada? An uncertain future for the iconic broadcast, with NHL games no longer airing on the CBC. Canada's main stock index drove further into record territory today. The TSX gained 114 points in New York. The Dow added 329. The Nasdaq lost 308. The Canadian dollar was down 0.07 cents. On commodity markets, gold gained almost $3 an ounce, and oil fell more than $4 a barrel. Prime Minister Mark Carney had a chance to engage with President Donald Trump today at the G7 summit. Part of their conversation captured by a hot mic, shedding light on some of their priorities as world leaders get down to business. Mike Lukatour reports.
As G7 leaders prepared for their working lunch, Prime Minister Mark Carney took advantage of the moment to talk trade with U.S. President Donald Trump. In an apparent reference to the amount of Chinese electric vehicles Canada agreed to let into the country in January, Carney conveyed to Trump how little he believes it would affect the North American market. The agreement with China would allow for the annual import of 49,000 Chinese-manufactured EVs into Canada. In exchange, China lowered tariffs on a number of Canadian products, including canola. Also in Evian, Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc and lead trade negotiator Janice Charette met with their American counterparts.
We talked about a number of other issues that the United States raises with us, but we also talked about issues that are important to Canadian workers and the Canadian economy.
Now, after securing the deal with Iran, Trump's focus shifted to Ukraine. Following a meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky on the margins of the G7 summit, Trump had this message for Vladimir Putin.
Russia should make a deal. Russia's lost tremendous amounts of people, and so has Ukraine.
Ukraine will win. It's just a question of time.
To help make that happen, Canada announced additional sanctions against 162 Russian individuals and entities targeting the Russian war machine. And President Zelensky feels a new sense of momentum towards a resolution.
It's great that everybody's understanding. Yeah. And it's great that Russia is not winning, and we have to push Putin to end this war.
G7 leaders will continue their meetings on Wednesday, but there are no plans for Trump and Carney to sit down together. But as we saw today, that doesn't mean they won't have important discussions, even if they're brief. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, near Evian, France.
Good evening. It was a cool, dry start to the day today, but we're tracking some scattered showers and thunderstorms tonight that will continue overnight into tomorrow. Thanks, Barb, for this picture of Willow enjoying the sunshine. If you're heading out for a walk tomorrow morning, mainly cloudy conditions with some peaks of sunshine. I'll break it all down for you after the break.
Welcome back. On the desk with Lauren Stallone, who's handling the forecast for us tonight. Lauren, some active weather in our area tonight. It sounds like we might be in for a bit more before the week is out.
That's right. We saw some scattered showers and some thunderstorms tonight. So if you had some evening plans or outdoor sports, that may have been something that you were experiencing. Our daytime high today, 21 degrees. That is just below average for this time of year. So we're seeing those scattered showers and thunderstorms that will continue tonight, overnight into tomorrow as we track this low pressure system that's making its way through the region. So taking a look at the next 24 hours, we're going to see a little bit of a break in the forecast as that low pressure system makes its way through with some mainly cloudy conditions and some peaks of sunshine for your Wednesday before we see this next low pressure system make its way through late Wednesday night into Thursday. Now, this is definitely the stronger of the two systems that we've been tracking here today, overnight tonight into tomorrow. With it, it will bring a chance of localized flooding, thunderstorms, and some heavy rainfall. So some areas across the region may see heavier rainfall than others as this system makes its way through. But following that system, we'll see cloudy conditions and some gusty winds. Overnight tonight, temperatures dropping down just around normal for this time of year. So for your Wednesday, tomorrow we'll see mainly cloudy conditions with some peaks of sunshine in the forecast, with temperatures starting to warm up to around 22 degrees, again just below normal for what we can expect to see for this time of year. Taking a look at your 7-day forecast, rain throughout the week this week before we see a bit of a break this weekend with mainly cloudy conditions with some peaks of sunshine on Saturday as the next low pressure system returns Sunday night into Monday with that rain continuing. But we will see that sunshine make its return on Tuesday. Now taking a look at the 7-day forecast for Midwestern Ontario, similar, we'll see that rainfall Wednesday night into Thursday, but the sunshine will make its return on Friday and stick around for the weekend. Temperatures just below normal for this time of year, but comfortable. Keep in mind that areas like Wyerton will definitely be cooler through the Bruce as this for the week for your 7-day forecast. And then we'll see that rain return on Monday to start your week early next week. So Carlyle, it's definitely going to be a little bit of a cloudier day tomorrow before we see that low pressure system move through, and we can expect to see some heavy rainfall in the forecast.
All right, Lauren, thanks very much. It's the end of an era for hockey broadcasting in Canada. After nearly 75 years on the air, NHL games will no longer appear on the CBC. Annie Bergeron-Oliver has more on what that means for Hockey Night in Canada.
It's Hockey Night in Canada.
Since its debut in 1952, CBC's Hockey Night in Canada has been a Saturday night staple. The next season, the broadcast that's delivered many of hockey's biggest moments, including the Great One Stanley Cup victories and the 1972 Summit Series against Russia, is going dark.
It's like everything in life. It's like we're all moving forward in different directions. It's a splintering of what was a family tradition.
The iconic program was woven into the national fabric, offering hockey for free over the airwaves or with basic cable. But now a deal with the NHL rights holder Rogers Communications is ending, so CBC can no longer air NHL games.
It really is the end of an era for not only Canadians, but for an important chapter of Canadian culture where hockey was coast to coast to coast.
They're going home.
Experts aren't surprised by the move. They say changing viewer habits and the growth of streaming platforms like Amazon have reduced the importance of traditional TV, pushing many professional sports organizations to adopt subscription models.
Welcome to the world of pay-per-view sports. The NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball are all going down that path. It's only a matter of time before hockey did it. I think the reason that it took so long in Canada, of course, is because of our commitment to hockey.
CBC still owns the rights to Hockey Night in Canada. Instead of hockey, which will play on Rogers Sportsnet, CBC plans to launch a new Saturday show focusing on Canadian athletes. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
Finally tonight, a local athlete is heading overseas for a grueling fitness competition. As Brent Lale reports, she's representing Canada in Sweden in one of the world's most physically demanding sports.
Lindsay Besagato with one final push before heading to Sweden for the High Rocks World Championships.
High Rocks is 8 kilometers of running and 8 functional stations in between.
It's a relatively new sport, launching in 2017.
I'm ranked one of the top females. Now, because Canada is so slow to getting to this sport, I still have a long ways to go. Those Europeans and the Americans are just insane. Like, they're hitting 1 hour times.
Representing Team Canada, the 25-year-old is hoping for a personal record of 1 hour, 3 minutes. A former hockey player and CrossFit competitor, the Belmont, Ontario native only started the sport 2 years ago.
99% of my running and training is solo, so it takes definitely a mental capacity to be able to do that alone and have the strength to do it alone and push yourself when you're by yourself. 2 sessions a day, lots of running. I'm running like 60 to 70 kilometers a week, which still means I need to get in my strength training.
On top of the 8 kilometers of running, the sport requires rowing, sled push and pull, burpee jumps, a farmer's carry, lunges, and finishes with 100 wall balls. This week, she will compete in solo pro, mixed doubles, and will be part of Canada's relay team. She's excelling in the strength portion of the competition, but admits she needs to improve her running.
Coming from a CrossFit background, I'm not, a lot of the runners are finding this sport, but I'm really excited for my race with Ryan this weekend because we're in the 16 to 24 age group, and I definitely think we can podium.
Brent Lale, CTV News.
And that's it for us. Thanks for watching. For all of us at CTV News London, I'm Carlyle Fiset. Have a good night.